Hi there. So today I would like to share with you a new amazing feature available since PHP 8.1, which is enumerations. So what is it? Well, you maybe know enum already from different languages such as C, such as TypeScript, and so many other languages, Java and so on. And it's really handy because when you need some kind of type, when you need to always have to use the same specific, here we have different one, diamonds and so on. When we need to use one specific one, instead of using constants, we can use enums, because usually enums are more powerful and it's a list of different options we will just use for a parameter. So in an argument, you will just say, okay, then in this argument, I expect this enum, and this enum has 4 or 5 different options, and you cannot have more than this. It helps to have a better and more readable code, and it will also definitely be easier for scaling later on your code base with other developers. And finally, we know directly, oh yeah, I just have those 5 options in this enum. It's just easier when other devs are using your library, like they just look at your enum and it's straightforward. So let's start. Enum in PHP are very powerful actually, because it's a little bit like a thread or like a class interface. However, it cannot inherit any other classes. Inheritance are not allowed. Here in our example, I will have a enum and the name will be probably user type for the example. And again, you see it's exactly like a class. However, the main difference with other languages, the enum in PHP is like a set of cases. So we use the case keyword. In most other languages, we just declare the name of each option in our enumeration. So we just do like user, and then it will be admin, and then it will be, for instance, guest, and so on. But in PHP, and the value if we need a value, in PHP, we need the case keyword. So you just need to be familiar with this, because like I said, in most languages, we don't have that case. It's a little bit different. Like enum in PHP are a little bit more specific, but really powerful. You can also notice that every case name are in uppercase, so it's really up to you. You can have it in lowercase, in upper camel case, like this, upper camel case, could be like that, or it could be in lower camel case. But in my case, I really think it's a much better practice, since it's like constant, to have them in upper snake case. So upper snake case is like a constant name, so it will be user type, it will be guest type in our case. Again, we just have guest, but if it was like for instance, if here we have affiliate user, it will be like this. So snake uppercase, it's the one to go with. I believe it's a better convention, since all of the values are not mutable. So we can access to enum like this, user type, and then we do user. If we have a backed enum, it means we have a value. So like here I would have user, then obviously we can still access to it, but it will be a string type. So enum can have either a string, so all of the values here needs to be a string if we use the backed enum, or a integer. It's only 2 types, integer or string at the moment. So here it's a string, so we'll have like admin and then guest, and if I do user, it will give me the user value. Obviously I will have to change the type to string. So now let's see how we can have, for instance, a interface and how the enum can implement an interface. So like I said, an enum cannot inherit another class, cannot extend to another class or another trait, but we can implement a interface. So here I will have interface. It will be user type. I'm not sure if that's English, but anyway, so a public function, and here it's, let's do user type. It could be type, or maybe what's a good name? It's always hard to find. Or maybe for now we can do toString. Let's do, and here it will be string, the type, the return type. And so here we have our enum. I will just not have it backed for now. We have the different values, and then we can implement our enum with the user typeable interface. So implement user typeable, perfect. And here we have public function to string, and inside, so it will return a string. And so here we will use the power of match. So match, here it will be this for the current class. Again, the function in an enum can be also static. You have to know this. It's either static or not static. It's really up to you. And there we do user type, and then guest first user, for instance. So this is similar to a switch statement where we have case and then break, case, break. But match, it works only with one expression. You know, with a switch you can have multiple expressions in one case block. With match, it's only one single expression because it returns directly the value. So user type, and here it will be user, for instance, and then we have user type guest, and then we have here guest, for instance, and then user type admin. So it's like we have a switch statement and we say, oh, if we have user, if we have guest, then print guest. If we have admin, then let's print admin string admin. Perfect. Like this. We can also use the self keywords like this. This will work as well, and it returns automatically. With a match, because it's like an expression, we need to have the semicolon. And now that's it. So we implemented our enum with the interface. We can now do match. Or obviously, if it was a static function, we could have done like this, but in our case it won't be static, so it will be, let's try, we have to refresh first. Perfect. Line 8, so I have our implements with a S. Perfect. So we need a S, and here line 9, probably I do have an error, and the error is, oh yes, sorry, my bad, we need semicolon, not colon. So semicolon for the enum. So yeah, please don't use colon like me. And there, oh yeah, because it's still static, and indeed we are not using it as a static function. Undefined user type, oh, I will do, yeah, and that's 24. I will do user type, and then to be user. Perfect. Oh, sorry, I will do, so we have to do like user type like this equals, so this is what I want, and we assigned our enum like this, and then I do that. Let's see now, not much, it will be toString for the function. Perfect. And now if I do a echo, we should see the value. It will be user. You see, user is here. Perfect, beautiful. So that works. So that's the enum we use. So now if I just remove this, if I remove the interface as well, and remove the implementation of the interface we just removed, and so I can just declare the value of a backed enum. So let's go back to a backed enum. So for a backed enum, we need to have a type. It's either string or integer. In our case, it will be a string here. And so every option, every case of our enumeration has to be a string. So here to be user, and then equals guest, and the last one is a admin. Perfect, like this. And now I can remove this. I will do echo here, and here enum in PHP has PHP offers a value read-only, a value public read-only property. So it's a public property with a read-only access, and so we can do value, and the value will return what's here. So here it will just return user. So let's have a look now. It does user, and now if I do guest, it will return guest, you see. And now if I do admin, it will give admin. Amazing. And you see, it's still nicer to have a upper snake case, because imagine if it was admin like this, although on the official PHP.NET documentation for the moment is a upper camel case, but like this it doesn't really read well because it's a constant here. We cannot change it on the fly. But it's up to you, it's just a matter of taste, but now I'm thinking of it. And if we need for some reason the name of it, so guest, user, admin, the name of the case, we can just use name. So the name will be this one, like either. So now if I change user, so either user, guest, or admin, you see now we have user. And now if we need to display all of the different ones, all of the different cases, we just use cases function. So that's again a PHP function. Inside it's a inbuilt function, and so now it will return as an array. So if I do here, if I do cases equals, and now if I do a var dump cases, I will see all of them logically. Oh sorry, I have to remove this one, the case. So it has to be the name of the enum, and then cases. Why it doesn't work? It's because of var dump. I made a typo, var dump without a T. Yes, you see, now we see all of them. We can do a print R actually. Perfect, you see, beautiful. So that's really the how powerful enum. We can use integer, so it would be an ID, like ID1, ID2, ID3, and then here if I do user type, and then it will be guest, and then I use the read-only value property given by PHP. I do like value, and then I will do a var dump value. It will give me 1. So let's see. Oh, I just have var dump. Oh, I need a semicolon. Perfect. I have 2 now. 2. Oh yeah, because it was guest. But if I do user, it will be 1. Awesome, awesome. So famous example in the PHP doc is label. So for instance, I have an enum, and the enum, I will just have a look actually to Stitcher for that example. You see they also mention listening enum values. If you want to show all of the values of an enum, you use cases, like what we just did, and it will list all of the available cases within a enum. And it shows also like what we were speaking about, the value, oh yeah, from, so you can actually restore. So let's just quickly do this. So here I will, if I do user type from to, let's do it from, so var dump, oh yeah, need the semicolon, and now I have user type guest from 2 because 2 was the second one. If I do 1, I have user, and if I do like 55, it doesn't exist, so it will throw a exception, an exception with value object. So I could catch that exception with a try catch block, and so I could do value error, and then I just do like for instance, you know, you can just do var dump, you can just copy paste this one there, and it will be E for exception. Otherwise you could use try from, and try from doesn't throw an exception, it will just give null if it doesn't exist. So now if I do a var dump again value, it will give me null. You see, null. Perfect. And what I wanted to show it to you was the example, or it was with colors, I believe. Label, or no. Yeah, well, I will just make my own example, then it will be probably label. So we have an enum label, a normal enum like this. Perfect. And then here I have a public function label, and I can even have an interface. It's good then to have an interface label, and then here I will have public function label. It will return a string, and inside of the label function, so I will implement labelable, or maybe iLabel, although it's not really nice. Label definition, maybe. Perfect, like this. That's our interface. And here we have return match. We use this because it's inside of the enum structure, and then we do self. It will be different. The label will be, for instance, what kind of label can it be? Like, or maybe it could be colors: red, blue, and green, and then self red, and we'll have red. So here we need colon. You see, in a match, it's like it's an array, so we need, it's like an array, so we need a colon. So we do self blue equals arrow, and then we have blue, and finally green. So again, think about an array when you write inside of a match. So a match is like an expression, and this is why we also need a semicolon here at the end. So again, self green, and here to be green. Beautiful. And we could also just do like color equals, and then we could do return color. That's just up to you, but in my case I will do a explicit return. So I will return directly, awesome, like this. And now we will have, like, I will have label equals label, and here it will be red. And so now if I do label, and it will be the name of the function label. I want the label, maybe label name could be. I think that would be better, because otherwise the name is too similar, although it's lowercase, but it's not really, it's a little bit confusing. So label name, oh, I need a echo here, and class contain one assertion. Oh yeah, label name I have to rename in my interface. Perfect. So now it's red. You see, lovely, it works. And if I change that one to static, and if I do here like this with colon, oh, I need to change here public static function. Oh yes, this, then I will have to do self, perhaps, no, not self, static, but this, oh yeah, that's interesting. That won't work obviously. So let's do that's interesting inside. Well, I'm just thinking, let's just have a quick look. So if it was value, yeah, otherwise we would have a value, this PHP for static. I'm not sure. I think it won't really be possible, so we can just do, yeah, we could just do value. It will be a string. I mean, no, it will be our label, and here it will be value. And so we just do this with label red, and of course we have to update our interface to have that argument. And now we need to have, oh yes, so that's interesting. Just looking at this, because I haven't done this before. Let's try to do then label directly, because we use a function, and since it's static, yeah, we can do this label because it's not the enum. So we use, that's correct, yeah. So there we use directly this static function. So then we would do label and then label name and then the name, so the name of the enum. So it could be blue as well, and it will return blue, you see. However, if it wasn't static, then you would have, you cannot do this, because you cannot call directly the function of the enum like it's a function, because it's not a function, it's a method. So you have to do label equals label red, for instance, and then you would need label arrow and label name, because a method, since when it's not static, you cannot call it without making an instance of the label enumeration. So this is why we need this if it's not static, if the function inside is not static. But in our case, because it was static, we could have done this. So now I will do green, and you see now it's green. So I hope you enjoyed enumeration with PHP and with the power of match available since PHP 8.0 and enumerations available since PHP 8.1. I will just quickly show it to you what I did in my not allowed library. So I created an enum here, and you see, I will just show it to you. There I mentioned the band type. Actually, I could have done also self. Now just see it, and like this. Here I use the constant from the class there. So we use the constant. I use file name. So file name, again, I could have done also an interface. Obviously you don't have to, but interface, and it will be bind type or bind type interface by tampable, like this, like an adjective, and then I would do this inside, and then I could have done, but you don't need it because here I just need one enumeration, so I don't really need an interface in this case, but I could have done implements, and then I could implement the interface. It's really handy to have an interface for our enum, especially when we have multiple enumerations. But in our case, I will just remove the interface, and I use this here because I have just a normal function. And so the file name, I use it here, as you can see. So I need to pass band type, so I expect I will show it to you in the test. I expect the enumeration to be passed in the argument, and then I take the value. So just here say use self keyword instead of enum name. I'll just save this. I'll just double check if it's correct. Yes, it is. And now I will show you the unit test I have done. And then if we look for merge, here you see I call the enumeration. So here I call username from the enum band type. So I call the username. There I call the words, email, IP, and so on, because merge expect to have one of those enum types, like either username, word, email from the band type enum. So I hope you understood a bit better what's an enum in PHP. You see, it's really powerful. You can do a lot. You have a lot of articles and documentation out there, but we covered everything. So you see here the example was with draft, published, archived, and it was just an example. You see, like they pass status draft, exactly like what I did here with the merge. I passed the enum there, and here it was the same. And it's because you see blog post, it expects to have the enum status, and then you know that like here we have different colors, match, and they show it to you that you can also use static. And finally the interface you can use with enums. Backed enums, it's when they contain values. So like here it's string values. We have draft, published, archived. So I hope it helps, and I wish you all the best with your next PHP project. So it's always a really good idea to use enums because they contain a lot of advantages of using enum instead of PHP constants, for instance. Bye bye.